Oh.
All right, hello everyone. I'm James Alvarez. These are my colleagues Musa, Ailini, Jojo, and Emil, and we will be discussing the Virgin Group and service innovation. So service innovation versus product innovation. Two very different things, though they usually get lumped in together. When we think about product innovation, we think about something very defined. We're formulating essentially a material product that's going to be brought to market. Service innovation is a little bit different. It's more process oriented. So a lot of unique challenges go into service innovation, and it can encompass a much broader scope, as well as the fact that services are often intangibles. So putting the pieces together is a little bit more complex, often less studied, a lot less information out there, but there's a huge distinction. COVID-19 and the airline industry. So COVID-19, very clearly one of the largest impacts on the airline industry since 9/11. Travel restrictions had airlines operating at 30 to 50% capacity, reduced revenue for airlines, and if we think about Virgin Atlantic, out of the UK, UK airline stocks were among the hardest hit as a result of the pandemic. So here's an introduction to Virgin. Some of us might not be familiar with it. This gives you a little bit of their taste of their culture and identity, which they have long prided themselves on innovation and good service. All right, so Virgin Atlantic. You might have noticed some things that don't look like a typical airplane. Virgin is quirky, fun, innovative, and that's how they like to present themselves. So if you haven't heard of Virgin, Virgin encompasses a group of over 40 current ventures and 200 plus previous ventures. So Virgin Records, Virgin Airlines, Virgin Atlantic now, which operates out of the UK. Virgin Galactic is doing space travel, hospitality, high-speed rail, Virgin Mobile, Virgin Money, financial services. More recently, you've been hearing talk about Virgin Voyages in post-pandemic eras are starting to launch. And Sir Richard Branson is the founder of Virgin, often described as a serial entrepreneur. So hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies are under that Virgin name. What was Virgin's response to the pandemic? Virgin's initial response to the pandemic was declaring bankruptcy. As we saw, the pandemic hit airlines pretty hard. This caused Virgin to file for bankruptcy protection in the US with a £1.2 billion refinancing effort. Cargo flights were run by Virgin to run PPE around the world as a means of recovering ancillary revenue. One of the innovative things that Virgin put forward out there during the pandemic was COVID-19 insurance. So your trip is insured. Anything that happens to you during your trip is insured as a result of the COVID-19, which helped bringing those customers that were starting to fly again peace of mind as they move forward through the pandemic. Additional Virgin efforts, because they're such a large company, a large conglomerate, include specially designed ventilators from Virgin Galactic and many other efforts to that effect. So moving forward, and my colleagues will touch upon all of these points as we go through. How can Virgin, in the face of the pandemic, these new challenges, innovate in such a way where they come out competitive at the end? Some things to think about are service co-creation with its customers. The customers are the ones that know the most about what they want, so why not ask them? Tapping into frontline employees as a resource for innovation. The employees that are most in direct contact with your clients are going to know a lot more than maybe somebody at the very top level who's a bit detached. Incremental service innovation. You know, we see often we think of service innovation as these brand new services, maybe eBay, Airbnb, something to that effect. But more often, service innovation is very slow and incremental. Some small changes that add up over time to create a new service altogether. And then, as we saw, the airline industry is becoming more and more commodified. So how can Virgin Airlines, with its identity and its innovation and its many different projects and companies, as a result, develop a competitive advantage beyond cost? So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Musa now.
All right, thank you so much. So right now we are going to focus on the different services in flight. So what Virgin is offering when you enter the plane. So, and we basically take an example through the Airbus 350. It's one of the newest one. And then we have, when you look at that airplane and you step inside, the first thing you will notify or you will notice will be the seats. So the seats, in addition to being comfortable and with those types of privacy, it can be described as like the whole row. We have like 11 rows of bespoke separate seats in 1-to-1 configuration. So I'm gonna show you guys the illustration here. So that's how it looks. It's very comfy, and it also have like a small doors that helps you protect. A lot of people when you're traveling, especially like overseas or long travel, you will get really tired. So that privacy helps a lot, and that's one of the service breaker that we have for Virgin Airlines, Virgin Atlantic. All right. So the second service innovation that we are offering is when the in-flight, we have a bar and also a loft. So for the inside the bar, it's basically, I'm gonna show the picture after the second slide. So you will, as soon as you are flying, we talk about long distance, you get tired, your legs, and you might want something to drink. You can get up, walk a little bit, go to the bar, and then have something to drink. It can be a juice, anything, and at the same time you can be sitting there talking to people, friends, colleagues, or even the crew members. In the loft, you guys will see the picture. It looks like a mobile house. So you guys chill and relax, forget about the main cabin, forget about everybody. It's like a camping house, so you can really relax for a minute. So that's how you can see the lucky guy, the happy guy, looks really happy with that glass, and there's a crew member. That's how it looks like inside the bar. And this is the loft. That's how it looks like. You can, the picture is not that clear, but you can actually lay down or sit, just relax, and it makes a big difference for customers when you experience that. And then the big thing is not only for short distance, but also for long distance. It's really a difference maker. Now we're gonna move on to the food and beverage. So for the food, especially for upper class customers, so you can, it's that you can book your menu or view your menu 72 to 24 hours prior to the flight departure, scheduled to depart. So you can actually order everything when you get inside. It will be easy. And then one of the biggest things they are offering is the Canard du Chêne. It's a French origin wine that they are offering, and usually right shortly after boarding, so you will get that, but it depends on if you want it or not. It's not a mandatory thing, but it's kind of like an extra service that they are offering in order to make a difference. And all right, keep moving. This is the language. Hopefully I'm not. All right, the language allowance. So this is also another service that Version is offering to the customers. And a lot of people, if I myself, I used to travel overseas, and I know how a third language, a third free language is very important. Also, if you are a gold member, you can also enjoy that third language. So it's free, and it has to be the same size and also same weight. Third language, and a lot of people has been taking advantage of that service, and according to some surveys, it actually gives customers something to really that attract them to that company. All right, I think I'm gonna move on to Eileen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next I'm going to be covering the characteristics of service and how they differ from products. To determine the different characteristics, we have to look at these three characteristics. Well, to determine the characteristics between services and products, we have to look at these three characteristics. The first one is intangibility, the second one is heterogeneity, and then simultaneity. Intangibility services, this is something that's not physical, so you can't really touch it, you can't really taste it or smell it. So these services is primarily what differentiates a service from a product. Intangibility sometimes poses a challenge to marketing these services because it requires a tangible product. And it's also risky for the customers, which is why for Virgin Atlantic, they wanted to provide other tangible products, just like all the seatings, the special treatments, the full spaces, the leg rooms and all that stuff. So those are all part of the services that's provided behind intangibility. So in the airline industry, transportation is the core product. Since this is intangible in nature, Virgin Airlines can distinguish its products by offering intangible services. And some of these can be the food. You saw the champagne. There's the front service drop off for upper class customers. And then there's also the spaces where you can lay out in the premium travel if you acquire a premium ticket. Heterogeneity, it's also known as variability. So it describes the uniqueness of the services offering. Typically, these services are modified for each consumer depending on the condition and what they want. And the quality of this service will essentially set two competing airlines with similar products and services apart. Simultaneously, or simultaneity, also known as inseparability, this service is used in marketing to describe a key quality of services that separates them from goods. So these types of services are generated and consumed at the same time. So this chart was taken from chapter 15, if you guys read the chapter. The innovation text. Sorry.
What do you mean if?
So this chart outlines the characteristics which differentiates a service from a product. So if for a product, it's a physical commodity. It's tangible, you can touch it, you can feel it. It can be consumed and it can be stored as well as the ownership can be passed on from one owner to another. Services, it's a process or an activity. So it's intangible, the production and distribution, consumptions, it all occurs all at the same time. It cannot be stored, and the ownership of it cannot be transferred from one owner to another. Types of services. So there's two types of services. It's core services, which is primary to the transaction, and this is pretty like your itinerary or the cost of your airfare. Supplementary services are services that are rendered in following a sale or of a tangible product. So an example of the supplementary services is upgrading your economy seating to premium using points. innovation and experiential services. So for Virgin Atlantic, everything is about the experience, the customer experience. And this is one of the key innovations for design to ensure that there is a flow of service. The delivery process is emphasized from the start of the service to the end of the service, as well as during the peak times. So generally, customers don't remember their whole entire trip, you know. Once you've checked in, you lay down, and most people sleep all the way through. But there are times where, you know, when you sit in a seat and it's not comfortable, causes a lot of pain, you'll probably complain about that trip for a while, and you'll remember that you don't want to fly with them. So this is why it's important for the Virgin Atlantic to make that experience using the innovation. So this video, I'll let you guys watch the video first. Okay, so that's what traveling in the upper class looks like when you travel with Virgin Atlantic. Fortunately, you have to go to Europe in order to experience all this, guys.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know. Okay. All right, service as a process. This is also another area where companies like Virgin Atlantic aims to improve the customer experience. And the service process is a series of actions, and that takes place to deliver the service. Here I have the check-in process and kind of like what all that is required in order to get to check in to get to your final destination. So we all know the check-in process. You can do it online, or you can also do it in the app, Virgin Atlantic app. If you go to the airport, there's the self-kiosk at the airport, and from there you get a printed boarding pass, and then you get tags for your baggages, or your luggage. Following that, you go to the checkpoint, the TSA checkpoint, and after that, you proceed to your gate. So while you wait there for it to board your plane, that's when usually your seats are assigned. And then once you get to your final destination, that pretty much completes the service, the entire process of the service.
Thank you. So I will be talking about new service development models and new tech innovations coming to Virgin, hopefully soon. So Virgin must find ways to differentiate themselves from competitors and develop new service offerings to improve the passenger experience for success, especially with the pandemic slowing down and the surge of travel increasing, which our CLEAR team discussed last week. So looking at new service development models, which is the overall process of developing new service offerings from idea generation to market launch, companies focus on a step-by-step process for implementing new service innovations. By formulating a strategy, generating idea, analyzing it, testing it, evaluating it all the way into the final delivery into the market. It's important to note that service innovations must include market research throughout this process to not only understand consumer preferences, but also the industry itself and what's going on. So IT developments and new technology coming to Virgin Airlines for the travel experience. Through my research with Virgin, I discovered that there are two key areas to the future of the airline's innovation, focused on digital transformation and providing exceptional service to its passengers. So research has shown more people are using technology with the ongoing developments of new tech. So right now, Virgin has been currently testing tablets in some of their aircrafts on the back. It looks very similar to this. That will make it much quicker for crew members to check passengers' meal preferences and drink preferences. My mom's a flight attendant, so this feature would really help her out. Instead of going to each sheet to receive a customer's order, they just enter it in their seat back, and she can check, okay, 21A wants a sandwich, 21B wants pasta. And this can ultimately make the travel experience more efficient, and you can just peek, okay, I can do all this in one step instead of going to each passenger, which I thought was pretty cool. Virgin also expressed interest in facial recognition technology to improve security wait times. That was also touched on last week from our CLEAR team, how that has been a big issue with the surge of travel. So they're looking to partner with other airlines in the security process to make a more efficient experience for its passengers and to simplify this. And lastly, starting this summer, a lot of the big manufacturers of smartphones, rumored to have Nokia, Apple, there's one more, Samsung, will add near-field communication chips. And this feature means that these devices will be able to access consumer boarding passes and miles. So you no longer have to wait at a kiosk to print your boarding pass. It's all these new tech developments are in the process of just making it easier for its consumers and improving their experience. And then I'm going to pass it over to Emil to discuss service innovations and the use of customer feedback.
All right, yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about service innovation and the consumer, more specifically how Virgin has included customers in developing new services and developing new ways of integrating customer feedback in developing new services and improving their overall customer service experience. So I'm guessing most of you is probably familiar with those surveys that pings into your inbox after a flight, right? And most of you have probably thought that nobody reads these things, so why should I even bother filling it out? How many can attest to that? Okay, some of you. All right, that's good. So that's actually what Virgin Atlantic is trying to change. They're trying to change that mindset in the mind of the consumer. So the book talks about user toolkits. These surveys as user toolkits that can facilitate the transfer of information that most airlines and companies can use in developing new services and better understand the precise needs and desires of the customers. Despite this, customer involvement in new services development has actually been quite limited and largely passive in many industries over the last couple of years. The main reason is typically that consumers don't really know what they want. And research has shown that trying to gain valuable insight about this is extremely difficult and can oftentimes actually lead to very misleading information. So the most frequent responses from flyers are usually along the lines of, I want the same product but cheaper and better, right? So what we were trying to find out is how has Virgin tried to differentiate themselves in their research methods. So we have a little video about that here.
Quite simply, experience means everything to Virgin Atlantic. Back in 1984, when Richard Branson first created the airline, it was all based around the notion that we wanted to create the best experience in the sky. We continue to really deliver on that mission and to continue to reinvent the experience and keep raising the bar for our customers. When we're looking at how we improve the flight experience, we look at that whole journey before they've even got to the airport and also when they leave at the other end. And one of the opportunities we identified to really enhance that customer experience was through our communications that we sent them pre-flight. So there's a lot that we can do as an airline to minimize the anxiety that goes around with a long-haul flight. And so we've been working very closely with Adobe specifically on how we personalize communications for their exact specific destination. So for me, Claire, I'm taking a flight to Shanghai tomorrow. So I get sent a personalized email about that specific flight and destination. And what we're working on is increasing the personalization element of it. So for example, I like to sit by the window. So instead of sending me a generic email saying, which seat would you like to pick? We can now send customers a much more personalized communication that says, Claire, would you like seat 7G again? And that's really important to customers. At Virgin Atlantic, we have metrics coming out of our ears. We measure everything ranging from all of the operational KPIs to on-time performance and reliability to everything that touches their customer through the voice of the customer dashboards, as we call them. And we are incredibly conscious that we can't accept the status quo. So we're a challenger brand, and we like to say that complacency is the root cause of mediocrity. So even if we scored 10 out of 10 across everything, we would still say that 10 today will be worth 9 tomorrow. So what else can we do to improve it for customers?
All right, so what she's talking about here is essentially personalizing the experience, right? So most companies use what is called a Net Promoter Score, also called NPS. It's kind of like the standard tool to measure customer loyalty and satisfaction. And NPS is actually a very useful tool for Virgin as well in learning about like the end-to-end guest experience. However, what Virgin does that differentiates themselves from other companies in the industry is they use specialized surveys to drill down into the more detailed aspects of the experience and kind of identify where there's room for improvement and also what they're doing good and how to like further differentiate themselves from competitors. For example, when it comes to in-flight meals options, we have a quote here from the VP of Marketing and Communications, Luan Calvert. I'm just gonna read it here. Instead of other airlines that you're kind of relying on when the trolley happens to roll over your foot down the aisle, we encourage people to do their own ordering. So Virgin wanted to make sure that people actually had the right selection to choose from. So what they did is they collaborated with market research specialists like Adobe and Usabilia to kind of revamp and reinvent their catering menu. All right. So as I just mentioned, most airlines use tools like the NPS or what she talked about in the video, like the VOC, voice of customer, to measure how they're doing. And with most airlines, it doesn't really do a whole lot to like the end product of the consumer. So in 2018, Virgin realized that they needed to improve their customer satisfaction for their mobile app and to better understand customer pain points. So a few months later, Virgin starts using Usabilia. Usabilia was a user feedback solution for collecting qualitative and quantitative data across a multitude of digital channels like emails, apps, and websites. So what Usabilia did is they collected and analyzed in real time user feedback to improve products and their overall customer experience. And at the time, they serviced about 450 companies in 35 countries, including like global airlines like Lufthansa and KLM. So, however, in 2019, SurveyMonkey entered into an agreement to acquire Usabilia for approximately $80 million, and shortly after, SurveyMonkey developed a new tech-based customer service system that took those how did we do surveys that I was talking about earlier and help facilitate personal contact with passengers within 24 hours. So essentially what it means is that Virgin now operates a system where they ensure that 100% of people leaving feedback below a certain score will be contacted within 24 hours after the flight. So these emails are not your conventional and generic, like thanks for the feedback interviews, emails, but rather a personalized and issue-specific email that is aiming to turn a detractor into a fan. So Virgin, their overall mission is to win back the customer before the end of their journey. If something goes bad, whatever the reason may be, the data collected in these surveys are used to then flush out the root causes and with time completely remove them. So for instance, if your journey has not ended yet, if it hasn't been completed and you've been experiencing some kind of hardship or something went wrong, they take that data from your outbound flight, feed it to the crew on your returning flight with a little note to look after you or make your experience a little bit better in order to kind of like to make that experience better, essentially. So yeah, that's some of the ways they use customer feedback to improve their overall service experience. So I'm going to hand it back to James here for the closing remarks.
Great, thank you everyone. I'd like to open it up for questions now.
I know we read about, like JetBlue and how they try to provide all these luxury services at a great price and what happens to them. So I'm guessing this must cost a pretty penny.
Yeah, exactly. So, you brought up exactly what it sort of referenced at the beginning was that air travel was becoming increasingly commodified. So, how do you differentiate yourself there when you're being judged completely on cost and you compete solely on cost? So, Virgin has to get to a point where it's competing in value if it doesn't want to differentiate itself. That's its original philosophy, and to bring it back now as a result of the pandemic, considering service innovation would really help moving forward.
Okay, so their target market isn't the everyday consumer. Their target market is very upper class kind of area.
Yeah. Luxury travel on like international flights, basically.
Anything in need.
Speaking of the upper class, what is the status of their space tourism?
Space tourism, sure. So around that time when Jeff Bezos was going up, sort of overshadowed the Virgin Galactic launch. Virgin Galactic has sort of a different tact. What they do is their space shuttle or space vehicle takes off from a high altitude airplane and then gets up into orbit. So they've done a completely different approach to it. But yeah, they have started going up, and it's just a matter of time before they offer that service to common folks, but common folk.
Yeah, that's it. So we've got some gift cards to raffle out. Hope you guys are really paying attention. So I'm going to ask a question. What are the 3 characteristics that differentiates products and from services?
No, I can't do that. No, I did the Toro thing, that's why.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, intangibility, heterogeneity, and simultaneity.
Yes. All right, so you got 2 choices, and they're both $15. I'll just show you the back, and then you can pick one. That one's a Target.
Target. All right, best place. What was I gonna do with $15 on Virgin?
Okay, we got one more. We got one more. Can you name 2 of the 3? Oh, sorry. We got another one. Could you name 2 of the 3, or possibly all 3, of new tech innovations coming to Virgin? Nobody listened to me? Come on. 2 of, oh, come on.
Tablets, facial recognition, and NFC chips.
All three. Good job. You win too.
Come on, guys.
Any more questions?
Oh, yeah, you get to go see a movie.
All right.
We got any more questions for us?
Hey, good job, team.
All right.
Questions? Good job.